listen, this is how fitness has actually helped me to become a better trader. Now, just to give a little context, I've been training, like, lifting weights, going to the gym, staying active for over 10 years, been pretty consistent at it for the last 3 years. That's when I would say I locked into my nutrition, and that's exactly when I seen the most results. I was able to get six pack abs, stay pretty lean all year long, and I'm someone that never had abs growing up. Always had this weird skinny fat physique, and then just recently I've been able to stay lean, get lean, and then stay lean pretty much all year long. Now, with that being said, I'm also a day trader. I've been doing that for 6 years, and at the same time, I think everyone at this point understands that day trading, if you do it, you understand that it is a long journey, and everyone knows it's you versus you. And the thing about getting into fitness and becoming good at, I guess like mastering fitness and understanding and building a physique that you are proud of, right? When you wake up, you look in the mirror, you're proud of your physique because you put in the hard work, you put in the discipline, you said no to all the bullshit, you stayed locked in pretty much all year long and for a consistent amount of years to get to the point that you're at. You got to realize there are a lot of similarities between the fitness journey and the journey of becoming a successful day trader or just a trader in general, right? And one thing I want to start with, I guess, is the fact that as a day trader, well, I'll say it in fitness terms. In terms of fitness, you know that one workout is not going to get you the end all be all results, right? You know at the end of the day that you have to do this for a long period of time. Or I guess most people don't know that because this is why people do stuff like fad diets, or they'll do like something like a 75-day hard and then they'll expect to magically change their life. But they don't realize that they have trained their mind to only think, okay, I'm going to lock in for these 75 days and then after that I can go back to my bullshit habits and I can still have this amazing body, or I can achieve some sort of great physique or whatever the case may be. You lose weight. That's usually one that most people want to do. But people fail to realize that you haven't shifted your identity, right? Because if you do this on a short-term basis, guess what you're gonna get? You're gonna get short-term results. It's not gonna be something that you can sustain for a long period of time. And this is exactly the reason why when people do stuff like fat diets or 75 hard, I'm using that as an example. When they do stuff like that, they do not end up continuing the habits after the fact, right? They just let it go. And what you fail to realize is that this is actually similar to trading, where you might have a trading plan and then you might stay locked into that trading plan for some time, but then you start to revert back to your old habits and you start going back to, like, I don't know, for example, maybe you over risk, you over trade, over leverage, all that bad stuff, because you have not shifted your identity. And so fitness is one of those things that if you can actually master it and actually change your habits. Because when I was growing up, I started drinking when I was like 14, 15 years old. Again, it had to do a lot with all the friends that I were hanging out with, my environment in general. A lot of people were just doing it around me. So I eventually got not pressured into doing it, but I obviously wanted to fit in, quote unquote. So I ended up doing that. And that also derailed me and created a lot of bad habits as I grew up got older and older, my late teens, my early 20s. I had all these bad habits, and it stemmed from me, I guess just partaking in some habits that I knew that they're bad for me, but at the end of the day, I don't know, I was young and stupid. I wanted to fit in, right? Now, those bad habits, when it came down to fitness, I started working out when I was like 16 years old. And even though I'd be working out pretty hard, I'd stay active, I'd get my steps in, I'm playing sports, I'm playing volleyball, I'm doing all this good stuff. At the end of the day, I was never able to make any sort of significant progress in terms of like how my body actually looked. Why? Because, every weekend I'd be drinking with the homies. Every weekend I'd be eating like shit, going to sleep late, chasing women, doing all this shit that was pretty much counterproductive to actually achieving a, lean aesthetic physique. And so it's the same thing with trading, right? So you have to understand, like, this is a long process, and one day is not going to decide your entire outcome, right? So this is what, like, you might have like a good day where you follow your plan, but it doesn't really matter. And you might have like a bad day where you don't follow your plan, you blew an account. That doesn't matter either. Because again, if you can consistently do the right thing over a long period of time, same way with fitness, you'll eventually reach that goal, right? And I use this example of me using those, like, doing those bad habits, even though like I would go to the gym, but then I would partake in some bad habits, which ended up in me not reaching the goals as quickly as I could have, right? Eventually I made those refinements along those way, along the way to basically, get rid of those bad habits and just focus on doing the good habits more, which is basically training, eating clean, getting sleep, drinking enough water, staying locked in, staying away from negativity. That's another big one that people don't realize, like, how big that one is. If you're constantly surrounded by negative people, obviously, what the fuck do you think you're gonna think about? Negativity, of course, right? So you got to get around people that are like-minded, people that have goals and aspirations that don't have to be the exact same as yours, but in their own way, they're trying to achieve something of significance to them, right? But it's just that sheer mentality of being positive and consistently pursuing something that means something to you. You want that energy around you, man. You don't want people that are doomers, that are always looking at the negative in situations. I get it. People have problems. People are going through things. But at the end of the day, if you're constantly around someone that's negative, you yourself you're gonna end up becoming negative as well. Whatever way you want to spin it doesn't matter. You will eventually end up having that same mindset as the people you hang around. So that's very important as well. Now, another thing that an underrated thing about fitness is people don't realize that when you start working on your physique and you start actually building this up, and it takes a very long time, right? You got to stay disciplined, you got to stay locked in. The sheer fact of you having to stay locked in, and what you realize is you start to become somewhat of an alien, right? You can't really relate to people around you unless you're on some sort of like sports team where everyone's pretty athletic, and they're also working on their fitness as well. That's not usually the case. Most of the times you're going to find that a lot of people around you are just not cut out for fitness, or they just haven't made that decision to lock in yet, right? And because of that, what people end up doing is, or this is what happened to me personally, is like eventually I realized that, oh shoot, like I'm no longer thinking the same way that everyone around me is thinking, and I realized, oh, I'm kind of like an alien right now, which could be a bad thing, could be a good thing. I view it as a good thing. Why? Because like I know that if I continue to think this way and I continue to move this way and I continue to do things that people don't want to do, the hard stuff, whatever, the things that people say, oh, I wish I could do this, I wish I could do that, but and they make all these dumbass excuses. Really, that's all it is. It's just dumbass excuses. Once you start to separate yourself from the pack, you will realize that, okay, I need to have a certain mindset. I need to stay in this certain flow state in order for me to continuously get to my goals. It's the same thing with trading, right? The thing is, like, I know everyone's getting into trading now. It's pretty much about like a hot industry to get into. People want to make money, but you have to realize like most people are just not cut out for it, and it is what it is because they refuse to actually lock in and change their identity. They change their mindset into one that of a successful trader, right? And part of that is maybe some people don't have the knowledge, right? Or maybe they don't have the experience yet. But if you do have the experience and the knowledge, and you've been trading for maybe like a year or two, you have to realize like the only reason that you're stuck in the same loop is because you keep doing the same habits, you keep staying in the same mindset, you keep and so this is what fitness will do for you, is that slowly when you start to get better at it, and I know this because of my 10 years of training. In my first 10 years I'd work out hard, but I wasn't really getting anywhere. Maybe I'd bulk up to like 180 and then I drop down, and then I'm back at where I started, 150, and then like I'm not really making any progress. I'm running around in loops, and the reason was because my identity didn't shift. I still viewed myself as a person that loved to party, loved to go out, loved to drink and smoke with his friends and chase women, do all this like dumbass shit, really. And so once I started to change my mentality, my identity of someone that is like, you know what, I'm gonna say no to a lot of these things. I can't even be bothered to hang out no more. It really isn't worth my time or my energy. Once I started doing those things, that's when I started to see some real progress with fitness. And then now people will come up to me and ask me like, oh, how'd you get this physique? But so really like, yo, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been trying to figure it out. And every time I make a mistake, I reassess what it is that I did wrong, right? And then I work on that. And I figure out, okay, I did this wrong. All right, next time I'm gonna do this. All right, next time I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna make sure that I stay locked in. I'll make sure I'm not gonna make that mistake. And that's the way that you can get from whatever, point A to point B to point C to point D. And like you're just continuously moving up the ladder, right? Now, another underrated thing about fitness and how it relates to trading is the fact that it just gives you a routine, right? Well, everyone else is out here, like the average person probably goes to work, right? Let's just say they work a 9 to 5. They're gonna go to work, and then they're gonna come home, or they're not gonna come home actually. On their way home, right? They're gonna think, oh, you know what, I had a great day, I'm gonna get some fast food. They'll get some fast food, then they come home, and if they didn't do that, maybe they go home right away, maybe order some Uber Eats, some DoorDash, whatever the case may be, pop open the newest television show, maybe like Love Island or something like that. They start binge watching it. Maybe they're chilling with their girl. Maybe they're chilling with their homies, drinking some beer, smoking some weed. I don't know, anything to kind of like unwind, right? Or they're just like doom scrolling for the rest of the day. And the thing is, like, what you realize, the average person is doing that. But for you, as if you like get into fitness and you start taking it seriously, what you end up doing is you start developing a routine that is outside of what the average person does, right? So I'll give you an example. Like, this is what I'm currently doing. I'll wake up, right? And right away, I will not touch my phone. I've been doing this routine for about 5 years where I wake up, I don't touch my phone for at least the first 30 minutes. I'll wake up, I will stretch, meditate, pray, recite things that I am grateful for, drink a whole bunch of water, drink my vitamins, all my stuff, and then and then after all that, it takes about like 30 minutes, and then I will touch my phone and get started with my day, have a list of things that I want to do. It's a very structured routine, right? And I've been doing this for over 5 years. My mornings are really great because of it. And honestly, like what I realized is, like, I used to be like this where I would wake up and I would just immediately go on my phone and just scroll and just fill my mind with some absolute bullshit, bro. Because like, what is social media really like? None of that shit really matters when you really think about it. Yes, you might be able to find some things of value. Like, for example, if you're watching this video, I'm trying to provide some sort of value, but for the most part, the algorithm's gonna feed you some bullshit, especially when you wake up. It's not really good for your mind. You need to, create a routine that works for you. But I'm just saying, this is an example that I gave just to help you guys understand that, listen, like, my routine, and I've been doing this for over 5 years, so now it just feels like this is what I do, like, it doesn't feel like I'm trying to do it. It's just, this is what I do. And what I realized is, this was partially because of fitness, right? Because when I got into fitness, I wanted to look to improve my life in any sort of way. And this is why I look to, improve the routines and the habits that I have on a day-to-day basis. So what locking into fitness will actually help you with trading is the fact that you now have routines, positive routines that are helping you become better on a day-to-day basis, right? With that being said, that is exactly what you need when it comes to trading as well, because most people, let's be honest, they don't have routines. They're gonna wake up and they're immediately gonna scroll on their phone, and they might do that for 10-15 minutes. They haven't even brushed their teeth. And then after the 10-15 minutes of doom scrolling or catching up on notifications, which most people will like to say, but it's really not. You're really just doom scrolling in the morning. Then they will start their day. They will then brush their teeth and get out of bed, do whatever they need to do, and really, that's just the average person. But I'm telling you, when you lock into fitness, and this won't happen overnight, and that's the whole point, right? Trading's not going to happen overnight either. Neither is fitness. So I want you guys to understand, it's a long process, and it's not like trading and fitness are super similar, but there are a lot of similarities between the two, just because you have to delay gratification when it comes to achieving something that's worthwhile, right? When you want to be great in some sort of industry, understand the people that are great in that industry have made tons of sacrifices. They have delayed gratification. Yes, are there some people that got lucky and maybe, it happened quote unquote overnight? Not really, but it looks like it happened overnight. Sure, there's a little bit of luck involved, but I'd argue that the constant effort that they put in on a day-to-day basis, locking in, saying no to all that bullshit, and just really just staying on their path, staying on their purpose, it allows them to reach a level in which most people will look at it and be like, wow, this guy's crazy, this guy's great, like, how did you do that? But it's really like, that guy's been doing it for a very long time, right? And he's been refining his actions on a day-to-day basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. People don't see that grind. People don't see that because that's not really what is glorified on social media. Guess what is glorified? Negativity and LARPing, right? Those are the things that are like catch the algorithm's grift, or like drift. I don't know why I said grift, but yeah, it catches their drift. And that's what kind of sells, right? All this Miami lifestyle, really. But anyway, I digress. I've been moving off track. It's kind of a little bit of a rant video, but really I'm just speaking about my thoughts about how fitness and trading are related. And now, if you are into fitness, you probably understand exactly what I'm saying. If you are not, you're probably like, yo, what is this guy talking about? But at the end of the day, I'm telling you guys, the major reason why fitness and trading are so alike is quite simply the fact that you have to delay gratification in order to get a lean, aesthetic physique. And it's the same thing with trading. In order to become a successful day trader or just a trader in general, you need to delay gratification. You need to not be like everyone else. Because if you're like everyone else, how do you expect to be in the top 10%? You can't be, because you're doing the habits of the 90%, right? How can you do the habits of 90% and expect to be in the top 10%? It doesn't make sense. Exactly, all right? I want you guys to wrap your heads around that, because that is really the key here. The fact that as you delay gratification, as you make these sacrifices, as you stay locked in, as you say no to all the bullshit, this is where you'll get closer and closer to your goals. And no, it will not happen overnight, so don't expect it to, because most people, this is why they give up, right? Because they'll start something like a 75-day hard. They think, okay, if I do this for 75 days, then I'm gonna get a six-pack, the physique, whatever, whatever. You know, they're gonna do. I'm gonna cut this out, but all right. And this is why, like, most people, listen, most people cannot delay gratification, and that's exactly why they will not reach their goals, right? That's why people do stuff like fad diets, or like challenges like the 75-day hard, which again, I think it's great. But what ends up happening, and I've noticed this with a lot of people that do 75-day hard, is that for the 75 days they will be super locked in, but then when the 75-day ends, they're just back on their bullshit. They're back to their bad habits. They're back to eating like shit, maybe poor sleep. They don't even work out anymore. Why? Because they actually have not shifted their identity. It's more so, hey, I just need to do this and I'll get to my goal. And then after that, I can go back to being my old self again. But the thing is, if the reason that you even got out of shape, or, you're not where you want to be in terms of like physicality, or again, anything, right? Well, I'm going to use fitness as an example. The reason why your physique is not where it's supposed to be is because your identity is not that of a lean person, right? Your habits, your identity is that of a person that is out of shape. And so if you fail to, change your identity or shift your identity to that of a person who is lean and, is just locked in and focused, then you're never going to actually sustainably keep that physique. You might get there, right? You might be able to push yourself through the 75-day hard, and you might actually make some sort of real progress, right? Why? Because you cut out all the bullshit for those 75 days. You will make a significant amount of progress, yes, especially like it really depends on where you are in your journey before you started that. But what I want to say is that you're not really delaying gratification like you think you are. You have a short-term mindset, and because of that short-term mindset, you're not going to have long-term results, right? All right. Anyway, I've just been rambling on, but yeah, like, stay locked in, boys. Fitness is very similar to day trading. I'm probably gonna make more videos on this, just kind of explaining more concepts. This is kind of just something to break the ice, I guess. But thank you guys for watching, and peace out.